One, two, three, testing, testing. One, two, three, testing. One, two, three. What the heck is bothering me? Testing. One, two, three. One, two, three. Three, two, one. One, two, three. Three, two, one. What the heck is bothering me? Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. I hope y'all can hear me. Try to keep my promise. Yeah, okay. Everything like is looking good. Yeah, I told y'all this is I'll go fulfill my promise. 14 days of original programming as it relates to the legacy of one James Melvin Lunceford, Jimmie Lunceford. This is We All Be. We is the 2020 Jimmie Lunceford Jamboree Festival, and I want to make sure I keep my promise of 14 consecutive days of content dealing with the late great Jimmie Lunceford, the king of swing, and also with black music and black culture. Name me. I mean, we gave y'all basically like 3 shows in one day. I barely made it on. I'm in Central Time. It's about 11:52 p.m. Central Time. Barely make it on, but I just want to make sure I deliver on my promise of 14 straight days of content related to jazz, all that jazz, and Jimmie Lunceford. But I want to talk about, like I said, I mentioned earlier in the earlier broadcast. I want to thank everybody who's been tuning in, who's been donating, Dues Nation, really supporting this platform. We love you madly. I love the biggest fans, the biggest supporters, the biggest trolls. If you got your eyes on me right now, and if you've been having your eyes on me over the last several days, thank God, because this we all be, and we all be in it to win it. But I want to do a special movie review because normally during Jimmie Lunceford Jamboree Festival Week, we would have a movie screening that's related to black culture and black music, in particular jazz music. We've been doing it for the last several years since 2017 at the Stax Museum. Yeah, the Stax Museum in South Memphis in Soulsville, USA. We've been doing it there. And we had screen movies like Blues in the Night, which also feature a cameo by the Jimmie Lunceford Orchestra, and the Bowden movie that was told about the life of Buddy Bowden was truly underrated. I thought they did a great job in the Bowden movie of capturing the essence and spirits or the zeitgeist of the times in early 1900s New Orleans, Storyville, all this stuff, the um, the birthplace of jazz. So all that jazz. With that said, I think this year delivered too, in this so-called pandemic, scandemic, whatever you want to call it. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, that Denzel Washington produced, George Wolfe directed, starring Viola Davis as the one and only Ma Rainey, and Chadwick Boseman as the screen stealing Levy, her star trumpet player who didn't know his place. But I just want to talk about that since we didn't have a chance to do a movie night this year because of the situation going on in 2020. So I think this will be a great time because it's so much to unpack in that movie. And I'm a big fan of jazz, of course, of blues. I knew about Mon Rainey for years. I'm from the Mississippi Delta. Doesn't mean anything, but this is blues country right here, Delta blues country. But she was from Georgia, from Columbus, Georgia. But the blues is like what Negro said. W. Du Bois, W.E.B. Du Bois said the gift, the Negro gift to America and to the world is the sorrow songs. So the blues are most definitely the sorrow songs, and I got a lot of respect for August Wilson, one of our greatest playwrights and storytellers and gatekeepers of our culture. August Wilson, a beautiful spirit. He wrote the play that is the basis for the screenplay or the movie Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And August Wilson was from Pittsburgh, grew up in the Hill. Like that's the black part of Pittsburgh, the historic black part of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is just an amazing place for black history and culture. August Wilson did a play for every decade in the 20th century that detailed the black experience, right? All the plays he did like a 10 play cycle, one for each decade of the 20th century. Almost all his plays are set in Pittsburgh, with the exception of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Y'all remember that a couple years ago, the award-winning movie Fences. Fences is based on August Wilson's play, starring Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. No, Viola Davis won her first Oscar for her role in that movie, and she had the ugly crying with the snot bubbles and snot. It was great. So she deserved that Oscar. And a lot of people thought that Denzel was going to win his, I believe, third Oscar, but it didn't come through for him. And the thing about it is that I'm just glad that they made a movie based around an August Wilson play. August Wilson is an interesting read, very colorful language. The language is like, it's like music, poetry, like how he emphasized the word nigga. Hey, nigga. It's very poetic. It's like how Miles Davis would say the word motherfucker. Motherfucker, motherfucker. It's like the way you say it. It take what you do, it's the way that you do it. It take what you do, it's the way that you do it. That's a Jimmie Lunceford song. But that's the way he played with language. Very impressive. It speaks to the spirit of black creativity, of jazz music, of blues, this colorful language. So my first August Wilson play that I saw was in college. It was called Jitney. You know how black folks invented Uber. You used to call it Jitney back in the day. You had them black cab services, Jitneys, right? And so that was my first August Wilson play I saw, called Jitney. I think it was either set in the decade of the 60s or 70s, if I'm not mistaken. If I am not mistaken. But August Wilson's an interesting cat. Like I said earlier in one of the broadcasts, that he dropped out of high school because he wrote a paper, an essay that his teacher thought he didn't write. He thought he didn't write the paper, and it upset August Wilson. So he dropped out of high school. And from my understanding, man, he just got some old 45s or 78s, I think 45 records, blues records, hold himself into a hotel room and start working on his plays. I mean, that's how it went. Pittsburgh, like I said, has a colorful black history. Pittsburgh is one of the most important jazz towns in America. No, I said New Orleans. They say that's the birthplace of jazz, but you got places like Pittsburgh and Memphis and Baltimore, and outside of the Chicago's and New Yorks that don't get a lot of attention like they deserve. Like Pittsburgh, a lot of great jazz musicians come out of Pittsburgh, right? I talked about Billy Strayhorn, who was the longtime arranger and co-architect of the Duke Ellington sound, one of Duke Ellington's most trusted confidants in terms of music making. They used to call him Sweet Pea, but he was actually a gay black man, but he was respected by his peers. I mean, because he was a musical genius. It's been proven time and time again. He helped write the Duke Ellington Orchestra theme song. Hurry, 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 take the A train. Da, 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 da. He helped write that. A lot of people don't know that. And he died in the 60s. Yeah, Billy Eckstine, Mr. B, one of the greatest singers of all time. Very underrated, man. Very gifted, talented singer. Mr. B was more popular than Frank Sinatra at one point. He was like one of the most popular male singers in the country. And then a controversial photo of one of his white fans hugging him blackballed him in his career. I believe this happened in either the late 40s or early 50s. Either Time of Life, one of those magazines, published this photo of this white girl hugging Billy Eckstine, and it kind of derailed his career. I mean, he did still have a career, but it wasn't as big as it once was. And Billy Eckstine, or Mr. B, was interesting. He was a good-looking black man, right? He had, he was mixed with German ancestry. And I think he also went to Howard University at one point, but he was one of the biggest supporters of the new art form or the new sound coming on the stage back in the 40s that we now know as bebop. That's the sound birthed by Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Christian, Thelonious Monk, Bud Powell, Max Roach, Kenny Clark, so many people, right? But he was one of the biggest co-signers of bebop. As a matter of fact, he had an amazing band with some of the greatest modern jazz musicians on the planet, with Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, uh, Fats Navarro, the great bebop trumpet player. I think I want to say Gene Ammons. So many innovative J.J. Johnson were all in this band, and even Sarah Vaughan, I would say. The great Sarah Vaughan. I talk about I love these Jersey girls. Sarah Vaughan was from Newark, but I mean, who could sing or sang like Sarah Vaughan? She was a songbird like no other. But he had all these amazing musicians in his band. And unfortunately for us, this band with all these jazz giants and music icons did not record, because they had a recording band back in the early 40s during World War II. There was a recording band. So a lot of the development of the music was not captured for posterity. So, I think about it, before World War One took off, the number one music genre in America was swing music, a form of jazz that people love to dance to. Like I talk about the jitterbug and all that stuff, where you had black folks flipping each other over and catching each other, throwing each other in the air, very athletic, dancing at the Savoy and stuff like that up in New York. So, they have this band. Then all of a sudden, the public was used to listening to swing. It was the most popular commercial music, and then a couple years later, they hearing this weird, like Louis Armstrong called Chinese music, this bebop revolution. Like it came out of nowhere, but it was a long time in the making. It was being incubated. But you had a lot of great jazz musicians like Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. He's from Pittsburgh, the great drummer and leader. I mean, brilliant. He had trumpeters like anywhere from Lee Morgan to Wynton Marsalis played in that band of Art Blakey. It was a proving ground for jazz musicians. Art Blakey was the man. I love Lee Morgan, man. I love Art Blakey way to lead his group, his organization. I think he had Horace Silver in there at one point. And like I tell people, we should study black jazz band leaders to understand or understand how to be better black leaders. Because if you look at them, they provide the blueprint on how to deal with folks with all type of mental and health issues and get the best out of them. Like I spoke on Sun Ra. We'll talk about Sun Ra more as this celebration of the legacy of Jimmie Lunceford progresses. Because what's interesting about Sun Ra is actually buried in Elmwood Cemetery in Birmingham, Alabama. Jimmie Lunceford is buried in Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis, Tennessee. Sun Ra was a big fan of Jimmie Lunceford. Matter of fact, when the Sun Ra Orchestra came to play Memphis in their historic concert for Jimmie Lunceford's Jamboree Festival week of 2018, they had a Jimmie Lunceford tune that they arranged. Marshall Allen, the brilliant leader of the Sun Ra Orchestra, he's going strong. He's almost 100 years young. They had a great Jimmie Lunceford song that they arranged for their orchestra called All Along With You. I love that Jimmie Lunceford song. It's one of my favorite Jimmie Lunceford songs. It's very swingable, listenable, and lovable. All Along With You. And like we'll be doing a tribute to Danny Ray Thompson, one of the co-leaders of the Sun Ra Orchestra, who passed away, I would say suddenly, back in March of this year. So there's so much to cover. But you got Mary Lou Williams. She was not born in Pittsburgh, but she was raised in Pittsburgh. She was actually born in Atlanta, Georgia. But she's got to be the godmother of bebop. She was a brilliant, gifted pianist, arranger, and composer. She was actually married to a black man from Memphis named John Williams. I want to say John Overton Williams, I believe. He was a saxophonist for Andy Kirk's band and his Clouds of Joy. She also was a member of the band. She helped write the tunes and whatnot. But John Overton Williams was from Memphis, a saxophonist. And Mary Lou Williams was actually in Memphis when Jimmie Lunceford was here back in the 20s, teaching at Manassas High School. They actually used to play cards and stuff together. So you imagine Jimmie Lunceford and Mary Lou Williams, the godmother of bebop. You know, brilliant, visionary. You know, Mary Lou Williams was also a Jegna, so to speak, to Thelonious Monk. He used to tour the country with her, I believe, among other people in the beginning of his career. But in her New York City apartment, all the jazz lions, the young jazz Turks, would meet in her apartment to discuss music theory and to rearrange music theory with their bebop revolution. I'm talking about people like Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Christian, Charlie Parker, Fetch Navarro, all the giants, even Miles Davis, a young Miles Davis, and so many others will meet in her apartment to get that thing done. Just like they went to Minton's Playhouse, right? Where they was able to experiment after hours with the new art form, to have an art form that white folks could not steal from them. That was one of the main reasons they created bebop, was to create something that white folks could not take. Because I told y'all about Fletcher Henderson, right? How he didn't get all the commercial success and acclaim he should have gotten in the 20s. But it wasn't until he started doing arrangements of his songs from the 20s for Benny Goodman in the 30s that the white man took what was his. It's like you think about in the play Ma Rainey's Black Bottom with Levy. I mean, I think Chadwick Boseman should get an Oscar, Emmy, something nomination. He did a hell of a job of really being a true scene stealer. That man, you could tell he gave it his all. And you could tell he was sick, but his spirit was so full. He was so focused into that part. If that was going to be his last movie role, he hit it out the ballpark like Josh Gibson, who played for the Pittsburgh Crawfords, who should be the home run king, but you know how white folks do. So always an asterisk next to the name of a great black man. But Chadwick Boseman, amazing acting. Matter of fact, the whole cast was amazing. Coleman Domingo, Glen Turman. My God, this man's on a tear. Man, Glen Turman is really doing his thing right now. I loved him. He was my favorite character in Fargo season 4 as what, Dr. Senator, the consigliere for the Black crime family led by Chris Rock's character Cannon. Is it Cannon? In Fargo season 4, he really stole the show. And this and playing Toledo and Ma Rainey, amazing, man. Glen Turman is like, wow, man. He's in his wheelhouse right now. He is doing his thing. It must be his Uranus return because he is really killing these roles, man. And I just love the interplay between the band members and what in that movie. And Coleman Domingo, man, I gotta give him his props, man. He's been steady doing his thing. I wasn't really feeling him in the Selma movie as Ralph Abernathy, but he came alive in this movie, man. I love the way the all them guys had a camaraderie with each other. They really sold it. And also with Pittsburgh, some other great jazz musicians is Ahmad Jamal. That was Miles Davis's favorite pianist because the way he used space. You know how Miles Davis used a lot of space in his soloing and with his music recordings. He was a big fan of Ahmad Jamal. He was a minimalist that way when it came to piano technique. What else about? And also, like I said, I talk about a lot of Jim Crowism. How Jimmie Lunceford, a lot of them guys excelled during the Jim Crow era because they were forced to work together because we all we got. So they were forced to deal with each other. And they had a amazing, and the musician unions were segregated back in the day. You had a black musician union and you had the white one. And there was one in particular in Pittsburgh. There was like an amazing incubator for black talent. Like you had, think about it, at this one musician union, it was open to black musicians 24/7. So if they couldn't find a place to stay or they was coming home from a gig and they wanted to do a jam session, they went to that musician union in Pittsburgh. So you had a basically a university of this master teachers. Like, if you was a young musician and you was a saxophonist, one night you might run into Ben Webster, Coleman Hawkins, Lester Young, And it might show you some things. Y'all might do a cutting contest. Y'all might cut each other with y'all music, with y'all instruments. But you working with kids like, you a drummer, you run into Kenny Clark or Max Roach or singers like Sarah Vaughan. Everybody's working together, trying to help each other become a better musician. You had that type of camaraderie and brotherhood and sisterhood going on. Because we were forced to deal with each other in Jim Crow. This is why I was like, a lot of ways black folks feel it was better under Jim Crow, because we was forced to deal with each other because we had no other choice. You had some of the best high schools and learning places be black schools in America during Jim Crow. We talk about Dunbar High School in DC. This is one of the top high schools, not just for black people, but in the country, period. So you had black excellence even in a time of systemic apartheid. So that Black Musician Union in Pittsburgh is one of those points where you had access to some of the greatest musical minds of that era and of all times, showing lessers how to become betters. Quincy Jones thrived because of that type of environment. Think about when Quincy Jones was coming up, all the people he met along the way, like a Charlie Parker or a Dizzy Gillespie or Ray Charles. These guys took Quincy under their wings and made him the man he is today. Because he was around these giants who was willing to show what they know to lessers to make them better. So he was hanging out with the gods. You understand? So I like, and if you look at, like I said, we live in a white male patriarchy. Like I spoke earlier, like, Sunday is football, right? The strongest men in the field are not the most powerful men in the stadium. Let me repeat, the strongest men on the field and on the sidelines are not the most powerful people in the stadium or in the organization. It's the owner who signs those checks that don't bounce. The owner don't have to be the strongest person, just the most resourceful at outsmarting and limiting access to folks whose strength should warrant more. The owner, ain't out on the field risking his life for somebody else's entertainment. The owner is making profit off of other people's pain. The career of a football player is not that long. It's very brutal and short. And you don't escape unscathed. You got to deal with injuries. Like, you might have an injury you got in your 20s that you won't feel the effects of until you in your 40s. It doesn't go away. It's like with the CTE stuff, all those concussions. Like, you remember Junior Seau, several attempts to try to kill himself. He even drove off a cliff and tried to kill himself. Then the work, he finally succeeded by committing suicide. He shot himself in the chest, I believe, because he wanted his brain to be preserved for science. And they found out he had one of the worst cases of CTE and they ever saw, the scientists and the doctors, right? Because they scanned his brain and autopsy his brain after his death. So it's a brutal sport, and you sacrifice your body for a little bit of change and to help your family. So, but you look at an owner who may not ever played a down of football, they're making more money. See, like, it's the billionaires getting more than the millionaires, right? And a lot of times, within 5 years of retiring, a lot of professional ball players are broke because they can't maintain that lifestyle they were maintaining when they were playing, because they're making more money. So there's a lot of adjustment. And you look at even the music industry, they talk about now how hit songwriters are driving Uber now. That's 2020. When you write a hit song, you should be living off your royalties, but yet you're driving an Uber to make ends meet. This is a death style culture. It's not a lifestyle, it's a death style. And really, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom shows that for the black musician, how it was a death style then and it's a death style now. Because people are dying for fame and downloads and streams, right? We got all these rappers that died this year. And why are they dying? They're dying young. But who controls their publishing and masters when they die? Because even, that's that Faustian deal. Like they say about Robert Johnson went down to the crossroads at midnight to make the deal with the devil. Like, in order to be a musician, and a successful one in this industry, you got to make some deals. Like, you know, it was highlighted when Levy said he would make the deal with the devil. That they were talking about making a deal with the devil. That legend going to the crossroads, right? They spoke on that in the movie. And Levy said, I will make a deal with the devil to get my fame and fortune. And the music industry is the devil's industry. It's the least talented people that make the most money in the industry. And they're not the artists. It's ironic, ain't it? Is that the least talented people in that industry are not the artists. They make the most money and they live the longest. You know what I mean? People, Clive Davis signed over the years is dead. He's making money off of. You know, Miles Davis and Janis Joplin, they gone. Clive Davis still thriving. Whitney Houston gone. Clive Davis still here. He's not no great musician. So black exploitation for white profit has always been a part of the American experiment, whether it be on the cotton fields or in the recording studio. So that was highlighted in that movie, the pain that black folks must endure. Because Mom Rainey, she's called now the mother of the blues, but no doubt she had blues as a black woman in a white male dominated industry. She knew that she had a limited shelf life. She knew that she had some type of value, but it really wasn't based on friendship. It was based on a transactional relationship. And her white manager proved it time and time again. He didn't see her as nothing but a paycheck. So I love the fact that she demanded something in this exchanging her pound of flesh for whatever little gold. I mean, she demanded that she wanted them cokes. She got them cokes by any means necessary. Those Coca-Colas. She demanded that her son, that her nephew with a speech impediment be on her record, her famous, Black Bottom record, right? She demanded that. She didn't care how difficult it made or how uncomfortable it made the white people or white execs and recording engineer feel. She knew that while she was in that room, she needed to get what she needed to get while she could, because time was not on her side. And she was like unforgivable blackness. Viola Davis played that role, man. She really embodied. She reminded me of my great grandmother, Madeira, from Mississippi, who had gold teeth in her mouth. And she was like a really stern matriarch. And that's who she was. And I like the fact that they alluded to her actual sexual preferences. You know, she had a little play toy, played beautifully by the sister. Uh, and what people don't understand is that we think we were reinventing the wheel with sexuality and all this stuff with Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. Man, they were listen to some of the old blues records from the 20s and 30s. They've been talking about lesbianism and going down on each other and all that stuff. So that they were talking about gunplay, about police brutality and all that stuff in those blues records and even jazz records from the 20s and 30s about smoking weed. Louis Armstrong, who smoked weed every day, he made songs about smoking weed. I got the vipers. I'm a viper head, man. I get high. I hit them seas, man. So high in the sky. Or you talk about Robert Johnson. Just squeeze my lemon and let the juice run down my leg, baby. Just squeeze my lemon and let the juice run down my leg. What do you think he talking about when you say squeeze my lemon? Or somebody that sings that, I want a handyman. Oh, my baby love my jelly roll. What they talking about? So this stuff is not new. You had gangster rap stuff in blues songs like P.D. Wheatstraw, the real P.T. Wheatstraw. I ain't talking about Dolomite. He stole that from the blues legend P.D. Wheatstraw, the high sheriff of hell, the devil's son-in-law. He talking about killing folks, in his song Machine Gun Blues. I'm gangster rapping with the blues. Yeah, P.D. Wheatstraw from Cotton Plant, Arkansas, or either Tennessee. They don't know. He's buried in Cotton Plant, Arkansas. Sister Rosetta Tharp, my cousin, is from Cotton Plant, Arkansas. So I'm embracing my heritage, man. I'm the high sheriff of hell, the devil's son-in-law, Petey Wheatstraw. You know. So y'all look up Petey Wheatstraw. As a matter of fact, Petey Wheatstraw was the most popular blues singer and one of the most recorded of the 30s and 40s. White folks come decades later and say Robert Johnson is the king of the blues singer, of the Delta blues singer. But listen to Petey Wheatstraw. Robert Johnson's voice sounds similarly to Petey Wheatstraw's. He got that falsetto he do. To keep me company. To keep me company. He sound like Petey Wheatstraw, who were more known and more famous during the 30s and 40s. When Robert Johnson wasn't even that well known, he was known, he had a following, but he was not nationally recognized as he is now, or universally acclaimed as he is now. When he died at 27, nobody really knew who he was outside of the Delta, really. But when Petey Wheatstraw died, this man died on his birthday on a beer run. I believe back in 1942. He was in East St. Louis, some of his buddies and musician buddies. They were making a beer run and he got hit by a train. And everybody in the car, I believe, died. And Petey Wheatstraw was just 39 years young. The Billboard, that Billboard did an article, I believe, on Petey Wheatstraw, and his death was covered in national newspapers back in the time. So Robert Johnson went unnoticed when he died, and now he's a legend. Petey Wheatstraw was well known when he died, and now he's obscure. I say obscure? Yeah, obscure. Not that talked about unless you like a blues aficionado and historian, and you know his significance. So it's funny who tells these stories. It's like with Jimmie Lunceford. Jimmie Lunceford was more popular than Duke Ellington and Count Basie when he was alive, walking the earth. I mean, he was king of the Battle of the Bands. He would constantly beat people like Chick Webb and Duke Ellington and Count Basie and Fletcher Henderson at the Battle of the Bands at places like at the Savoy, right? At the famous Savoy. This man was the number one attraction. His orchestra, the Jimmie Lunceford Orchestra, was the number one attraction in the Apollo Theater for a whole decade. So how is he second rate to Duke Ellington and Count Basie with no less than authority than Glenn Miller? Yeah, that Glenn Miller. The white Jimmie Lunceford. And Jimmie Lunceford was the black Glenn Miller, but Glenn Miller was in amazement of Jimmie Lunceford. And Glenn Miller's died a crazy death. Both these guys like flying planes, I think. Glenn Miller actually disappeared. He enlisted during World War II. He disappeared in the plane crossing the English Channel. They never found the plane nor his body. He just disappeared. But Glenn Miller tried to have the sound of Jimmie Lunceford. He tried to do the showmanship of Jimmie Lunceford, where the trumpet section throw their trumpets in the air and catch them and play where they left off at. Glenn Miller wanted that look. He wanted that precision, that discipline. He wanted that sound. Tommy Dorsey of the Dorsey Brothers, that Tommy Dorsey, he wanted Jimmie Lunceford's sound so bad that he stole Cy Oliver, one of Jimmie Lunceford's top arrangers, the gifted arranger and trumpet player. Cy Oliver was lured away from the Jimmie Lunceford organization by Tommy Dorsey. Tommy Dorsey paid Cy Oliver $5,000 a year for his services, which was a lot of money during the Great Depression, because he wanted that Jimmie Lunceford two-beat sound so bad. So for people to write in so-called expert books and magazine reviews and all to say that he was second rate is a joke, because everybody wanted to be Jimmie Lunceford. Because Duke Ellington and Count Basie didn't have the same show. Jimmie Lunceford dudes were athletic. No disrespect to Count or Duke, but Duke was a show band, right? They would play at the Howard Theater. They wasn't, or the Cotton Club. Duke and Jimmie played the Cotton Club, but he was more of a show band. But Jimmie Lunceford was a Showtime band, where these guys would actually be dancing and singing and telling jokes, doing all type of extra stuff. And they had tailor-made suits. They were one of the first bands to have tailor-made suits. This impeccable, man. So this is why I go hard for Jimmie Lunceford. And even you want to say, well, his records that he recorded ain't on the same level as Duke and Count. I say that's a lie. It still sounds great today as it did back in the 40s and 30s. You understand? No, we got to reclaim that narrative because that's how they do. But like I said with Robert Johnson, they have you thinking Robert Johnson was like the Michael Jordan of his time, walking around, sold out clubs and dates and all. No, it wasn't like that for Robert Johnson. Robert Johnson didn't even own a car in his lifetime, but one of his top selling songs was Terraplane Blues, about a car. Terraplane, terraplane. He had no car. He's a hobo or hopped the train. But Robert Johnson, like Tupac, did get around. He had a lot of ladies. I get around. See, Robert Johnson, when he was like a teenager, now he wasn't a teenager. He was 20, but his wife was a teenager, Virginia Travis. He lost his wife and child in childbirth. That's when they said he turned his back on God. You know that scene with Levy, how he showed that he turned his back on God after his mom was gang raped by them white men down in Natchez, Mississippi, while his father away. That also spoke to Robert Johnson's Lord, because Robert Johnson turned his back on God when he lost his wife and child in childbirth. Her name was Virginia Travis. She was about 16. Robert Johnson was 20 at the time. And then that's when he went on his quest, right? To become a better musician. He disappeared for a minute. Because at first, like, if you listen to interviews of Son House, one of Robert Johnson's peers and also music heroes, I would say. Son House was talking about how they be playing gigs and stuff at the juke joint. And they'll have Robert Johnson come on when they took a break. And they used to laugh at Robert Johnson because he was horrible at playing guitar at that time. Son House and his good friend Willie Brown, the great Willie Brown. They will laugh at this guy. But what Robert Johnson did, he found a great master teacher to teach him how to play guitar. So he went away for a year to woodshed. Woodshed is a term musicians use. They go away for a while to practice on their craft. They'll take a break, but it's not really a break. It's just an extensive workout period where they work out their ideas and become more proficient on their tool or instrument. So Robert Johnson met this guy named Ike Zimmerman, this widower who was known for playing his music at night in the graveyards. So Robert Johnson already had that little mysterious vibe about him, right? So his master teacher on guitar is a guy that's known for playing his guitar late night in the cemetery. So when he came back, and Son House and them said, "Oh, go little Robert, go ahead and play." And Robert Johnson outplayed them all. And they said he must have made a deal with the devil. How could he play like that in less than a year time? So did Robert Johnson make that deal? But it's part of lore now. And like I said, it is like a soul selling thing in the music industry. That occult and all that stuff is real. Like John Lennon talked about, he told Dick Gregory how there was a product, that there was put in America to get the kids hooked on drugs through the music. A lot of y'all don't know that Charles Manson was a musician. And Charles Manson, to his dying day, said, "Man, I'm CIA, man. I'm CIA, man. Helter Skelter, man. CIA, man. They got me locked up. I'm CIA." So, but he was a musician. Charles Manson, he recorded songs. And Charles Manson, I listened to Charles Manson music. It's not that bad for what it was. He actually had some talent. But he was hooking up with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys because he wanted a recording career. And Charlie Manson could have quite possibly got that recording career, but he didn't want to change his image as a hippie. He didn't want to be clean cut. And I think that cost him a chance to get a legitimate contract. But you can listen to Charlie Manson music online. And it's not bad. It's comparable to Bob Dylan and everybody else that was doing back then. But Dennis Wilson got weary and leery of Charles Manson and the family. And so he parted ways, and they end up killing Sharon Tate, and the rest is history. And her friends, Folger Lady, and all these other people, Bianca murders, whatever. Y'all should check out, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino movie. And what I love about Quentin Tarantino, he does revisionist history very well. Like with Django and what's it called? Inglorious Bastards. I think that's the name of it. And Brad Pitt, he earned that Oscar, man. He really showed his ass off in that movie. I mean, he really did his thing. And Leo DiCaprio, I always enjoy Leonardo DiCaprio. He has a way of saving the movie. Sometimes when the script ain't that strong, he still make the movie intriguing. I ain't talking about this movie. This movie is a classic to me. But I'm talking about overall, Leonardo DiCaprio is a real movie star. And even in his later years as a mature Leo, he still got a lot left in that tank, man. So yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is an interesting movie to look at. And also this guy named Tom O'Neill wrote a book about Charles Manson and the Manson murders. He talked about the CIA connection. Y'all need to check that out. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast not too long ago. And if you could find that Tom O'Neill interview on Joe Rogan's podcast, it's worth a listen. It's about 3 hours long, but things happen, man. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It confirmed a lot of things and exposed some other things for me. And it's crazy, man. But what's interesting, why I told people to watch the August Wilson movie, Mom Rainey's Black Bottom, is a show that he detailed how black people, especially black males, are living in a state of arrested development. Because even in the movie, the band was very much disrespected by the white men, who were not the talented people, but they had the power because they controlled the recording studio. They had the resources. These very talented black men was at the service and whim of these white bastards, these bloodsuckers, just for some chump change, right? The I didn't like the fact that they were constantly disrespected by the white man when the recording engineer called them boys. These were grown men. Glen Turman is not a boy. Coleman Domingo is not a boy. The brother who played the bass was Michael Potts. That's his name. He's not a boy. Chadwick Boseman was not a boy. He was 32 in the movie. Levy or Levy. These were not boys, these were men, but because they were black men, they were disrespected. And they accepted their treatment. And it goes back to Eleanor Roosevelt. You can only make me feel inferior with my consent. I don't know if she said it like that. Let's say I'm paraphrasing Eleanor Roosevelt, that you can only make me feel inferior with my consent. A lot of our problems as black people, we allow these folks to disrespect us. We tell our children to respect a system that disrespects them on the daily. We don't have to tell our children that they watch us how we allow a system to disrespect our humanity, to discredit our humanity. You know, and you see that time and time again with every generation of black Americans in this country. We are constantly disrespected, and it's almost seen it like as a rites of passage. You know, so that was like, man, that was deep and raw. And then, Ma Rainey, this gender fluid Ma Rainey character. I mean, the fact that she had to act hard in a man's world to get ahead. I mean, there's a fear a black woman is not protected in a system like this, especially if we don't play gatekeeper for a system like this. And so she had to act that way. I understood that she had to be that tough, badass woman, because really she was not accepted by the black people nor the white people. She was looked down upon because of her profession as a blues artist. I mean, even though she was popular in the black community, the so-called black boule and the black elites did not respect her because she was not refined. She was from the country. She was country. She was loud. She had all those gold teeth in her mouth. But she's just who she was, man. Because she was like a rapper of her time. She kind of like, how, we look at somebody like Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion or any of these even male rappers. She was not respected by black society. Even though she was an earner, she was successful, she still didn't get respect from the black society. And she most definitely was not respected by the white society. She was seen as a commodity for them to use at their leisure and to get rid of once they tire of her. She really get the benefits of the royalties off those records that you recorded. A lot of them black musicians did not get the benefit of that. You know what I'm saying? Um, they'll do a flat fee, like you know, they pay Ma Rainey what $225 for her recording session for her. But think how much money those records made over time. They used to call them race records back in the day. All that music made by black people, they didn't care if it was blues, rag, or ragtimes, or whatever spiritual race music, race records, right? But you know, who brought the race records? White people. Just like how they who's the biggest fans of hip hop or rap is white people, you know. So um like it was very telling with the Levy character how he was cheated by the white recording engineer who said that his songs was not good enough. And he ended up using them, you know, he gave him like chump change, $5 per song, ended up probably copyrighting the song under his name and had the white folks sing the song. There's nothing new. There's always been the practice of the music industry to do black folks like that, or we allow ourselves to be done like that because we're so eager to get white validation and white attention that exists to this day. So really, he cheated himself because he didn't know his worth. But we reserve all the venom for our own people. Like what Dick Gregory said about a black man who gets cursed out by his white boss and disrespected by his white boss, but he comes home and take it out on his black wife and his black children. He's a damn coward. He's a fool. He's a nobody. He's a chump, a loser. So a lot of us as black people, instead of taking it out on the enemy, the people that reserve our righteous retribution and revenge, we take it out on the people that love us in spite of ourselves. That's what we do. We hurt each other. Hurt people hurt people. And Levy proves this in the movie. I don't want to give it all away, but Levy proves that. And also he proves about the trauma to being traumatized. Like, how can I be a man if I can't protect the women I love? Like, even though he was 8 years old when his mama got gang raped, the fact that he couldn't really protect his mom bothered him. You know, I can't protect my mama, and I can't protect myself. How can I be a man? Where's my credibility? So, I mean, if you go to any of our family histories, we all got that story of a loved one going to the store and disappearing, never coming back, or being lynched and all this stuff, wrongfully in prison, land being stolen. You know, he was from Natchez, Mississippi. And Natchez, Mississippi is an interesting place because at one point, Natchez, Mississippi had more millionaires per capita than any place in the country because of slavery. This is like around the pre-Civil War. And Natchez has a very colorful black history. You had the Rhythm Club fire of 1940 that killed over 200 black people on April 23rd, my birthday, back in 1940. You know, Walter Barnes, the famous black jazz band leader, played his last gig at the Rhythm Club in Natchez, Mississippi. And the roof collapsed on his band. They were like how the band was playing on Titanic as the Titanic was sinking, the ship be sinking, where the roof and the house be on fire, and they knew they was not gonna get out there alive, out of the place alive. So he instructed his band to play Marie, and the last thing witnesses heard was the trumpet player Paul Stott hitting a high note, and then the roof collapsed on the stage, killing all the band members that were present, including Walter Barnes. And Walter Barnes originally was from Vicksburg, Mississippi. Vicksburg. That's where Quincy Jones people from, the Jones brothers. The Policy Wheel gangsters in Chicago, they were from Vicksburg, Mississippi. But he grew up in Chicago. He was one of Al Capone's. He was Al Capone's favorite band director. He used to play at the Cotton Club in Cicero, Illinois. In Cicero, yeah, that's Cicero, the sundown town. So you know, he had protection because he was Al Capone's favorite black band leader. You know, Al Capone helped Walter Barnes integrate radio in Chicago. When he tried to get on the radio, the people that ran the radio station said, "We don't want no niggas on the air." Then he told Al what happened. Al called him little brother. He said, "Little brother, what's going on? What's going on, man?" He said Al didn't want, Snorky. Al's name was Snorky. to his friend. They won't let me on the radio because they said they don't let niggas on the radio. We'll see about that. I'll make him an offer he can't refuse, eh? And Al Capone got this man on the radio. What people don't understand about Al Capone was like a patron saint for black musicians in Chicago. You see, the outfit owned a lot of the popular clubs in Chicago where black musicians played. So Al Capone helped a lot of black musicians have gainful employment during Prohibition, uh, doing their thing with the music. But when Al Capone went to jail for income tax evasion, those opportunities dried up for Walter Barnes, and he ended up going to the Chicago Defender and became a columnist. And he helped promote what is now known as the Chitlin Circuit. He was like a forerunner to the Green Book too, because in this column you're telling places where black folks can go for entertainment, where they could stay and not worry about white folks acting a fool. So he helped with that, in a way of letting black folks know, because had to get gigs throughout the country. Like when it's wintertime in Chicago, he'll hit the road, go to warmer places to perform. And so he was actually making his way on back up to Chicago from Florida when somebody canceled their gig at the Rhythm Club at the last minute, and then he accepted the gig, his last gig, right? So it is what it is. But about 15,000 people came to his funeral in Chicago. And he was a folk hero. He was considered a hero. There were a lot of songs done by jazz and blues musicians that commemorated the Natchez burning or the Rhythm Club fire of 1940. One of my favorite songs was Natchez Burning by the one and only Howlin' Wolf. Did you ever hear about the burning that would happen way down Natchez River Town? If you ever had the burning? Nobody sound like I love Howlin' Wolf, man. Sam Phillips said him and Johnny Cash were the greatest talents that he ever had to encounter in his career. And he couldn't get all he wanted to get out of Howlin' Wolf. He was so talented, though. And that's saying a lot from a man who recorded Elvis and Jerry Lewis and Roy Orbison and Carl Perkins and all them guys. He said that Howlin' Wolf was the most talented along with Johnny Cash. And I endorse that message. And also Johnny Cash was very much influenced by his fellow Arkansan sister Rosetta Tharpe. So Johnny, black music know no bounds, man. We're very influential people. So I love that what Mom Rainey tapped into. And did I really talk about the movie? Yeah, I need to see the movie. Cause it speaks to the psychosis that black folks going through. Right now as a people, man, the Willie Lynch mindset and all that stuff. But I think that would be it. I think that's it for right now. Cause I just want to make sure I did something. Like I told you, I do 14 days of original programming as it relates to Jimmie Lunceford and black music and culture. And I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thank you, Sister Duckworth, for your information, support, and also this financial support. I want to thank everybody. But there was a dance. The black bottom was a popular dance back in the day, right? It's like twerking, like how people twerk now. Nothing's new under the sun. Nothing new under the sun. Yes, the land is being stolen. Yeah, Mom Rainey was a real person. She was a real person. Now that band was fictionalized, right? Chadwick Boseman character was fictionalized. But August Wilson was one of our greatest storytellers, man. He didn't live that long. But I'm gonna tell you something. He spoke that into existence, right? He said he wanted to die at a certain age after he get through doing what he did, and he ended up dying, but he had so much more life to live. It's kind of like our words create worlds, man. Black people, like even in that movie, Chadwick Boseman was talking some interesting things, man. He was bringing some interesting things up. Cause Chadwick Boseman was a conduit. He was a conduit, man. Cause I remember seeing the documentary after the movie, how Branford Marcellus talked about how Chadwick Boseman, none of them guys were professional musicians. Glen Turman played with the piano. He knew how to play a piano, but he was no virtuoso type of dude. And people forget that Glen Turman used to be married to Aretha Franklin. Yes, the Aretha Franklin, right? The Queen of Soul, the Aretha Franklin. That was his wife at one time. So he's used to being around music greatness and stuff like that. But he wasn't like no great piano player, but he could play the piano. But those guys that were in the band, they really weren't musicians. And Branford Marcellus talked about how Chadwick Boseman really was like he was like a real method actor. You know what I'm saying? Like he Branford Marcellus made a fingering chart for Chadwick to learn how to finger his trumpet. And by the way, that wasn't a trumpet. That was a cornet. You want to know how I know? Because I play a cornet. And a cornet is the cousin of a trumpet. The cornet is a little bit shorter and more compressed. Trumpet is more elongated. So that's a cornet. And actually, that was the horn of choice for horn players back in the 20s. It switched over eventually. But Louis Armstrong, King Oliver, a lot of them guys were playing on cornets. You know, like Buddy Bolden at the early 1900s, he's on cornet. You know, they wasn't on a trumpet, even though they like their cousins. About the same difference, but it's a different type of sound. So he even had a musician come in and help him. He took music lessons. I don't think that was him blowing though. But I remember a story. Charles Dutton. Y'all know who Charles Dutton is? The guy who played Rock in the Fox TV show Rock. See, the 90s was like a golden age for black TV. You had a show like The Rock on, Living Single, and some other shows. I used to love watching The Rock. I mean, not The Rock, but what was it? Rock? Yeah, Rock. Watching Rock on Sundays. I mean, that was some great TV, man. And Charles Dutton, who's from Baltimore, but also, Charles Dutton went to prison for some years for killing a person, and he redeemed himself. He ended up going to Yale drama school, I believe. So he's able to act in some August Wilson plays. Well, anyway, he actually did an August Wilson play, right? But he played the part of Levy, the part that Chadwick Boseman played. And the reviewer, I don't know if the reviewer was a theater critic from New York Times. He said he really said, well, Charles Dutton, he really stole the show. He could really play the trumpet. He could really teach somebody like Miles Davis and Dizzy Gillespie how to play the trumpet, man. He was great. And Charles Dutton couldn't play no trumpet like that. He wasn't on the level of a Dizzy Gillespie or Miles Davis. But he told us this story at Rhodes College back in 2007. I was in attendance. And he said that reviewer hyped him up that one night when he went to do his role in Mom's Rainey Black Bottom, he could see sitting down in the audience, he could see Miles Davis and Dizzy Gillespie and some other jazz musicians looking at his ass, staring at him, looking at him. They said, who is this guy? Who the hell is this guy? They say he could play better than us. And he said he was so nervous he could barely get a note out. He got Miles Davis and Dizzy Gillespie looking at you, trying to do what they've been doing for years and decades, years of experience and decades. I mean, legends. Watching your ass, you just picked this up, oh yeah, I'm gonna blow some stuff. He said he was so nervous, man. I ain't never forget that story. Oh man. But our people are amazing. And then you saw how they keep on mentioning Memphis. Memphis, 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 Memphis. I got to get to Memphis. Memphis, Memphis, Memphis. See, Memphians don't know the power of Memphis. Memphis is mythical in black culture. It's mythology. It's a mythic place. Memphis was known as the Harlem of the South. You had Beale Street. If Beale Street could talk, if Beale Street could talk. Memphis is a powerful place. It's a place of distribution of culture and commerce. It's a distribution hub. Just like Memphis, Egypt was a distribution hub of economics and culture, a religious hub. Church of God in Christ was created in Memphis. This is the birthplace of modern America. Memphis has the world's second largest cargo airport behind Hong Kong. Back in the 1990s, you was able to fly from Memphis to Europe directly. And they canceled that. Northwest KLM, I believe. You was able to fly to Memphis to Amsterdam. So smoke weed every day, land. Straight from Memphis. And see, the people here, they want Memphis to remain in plantation town. One thing I like about Atlanta, the white folks hate black people, but they love money more. Would they allow black people to make a living as well as exploit black businesses and black, people? Memphis, Memphis is a plantation town. They don't want a Negro to make any money, even if it benefits them by them making money. They won't allow a Negro to make a certain amount of money in Memphis. That's the way it's set up, So they got that plantation mentality. So, but Memphis is the birthplace of modern America. Don't y'all understand that the first modern supermarket was Piggly Wiggly, and it was invented in Memphis back in September of 1916? The hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Say what? Holiday Inn was invented in Memphis. The first Holiday Inn opened on Summer Avenue back in the 1950s. FedEx was created in Memphis. AutoZone was created in Memphis. Tennessee Williams did his first play in Memphis back in 1931. Thomas Edison lived in Memphis post-Civil War, working for the railroad, I think. The father of modern barbecue, Henry Perry, is from what is now known as Memphis. He's from Shelby County. He taught the guys in Kansas City how to do barbecue, who ended up opening Bryant's and Gates Barbecue. So it was a dude that brought barbecue to Kansas City. A guy from the Memphis area in Shelby County named Henry Perry. Take a look. It's all online. I'll keep going on. What about Stacks, right? There's so much stuff to Memphis, but Memphians don't know that. But Memphis was a mythical place for black people, especially Bill Street. He died. Robert Church Sr., the first black millionaire of the South. He saved Memphis from ruin and from extinction. He ran Bill Street. His son, Robert Church Jr., then he had Mary Church Terrell, his daughter, one of the first black women to get a college education and degree. Mary Robert Terrell, a judge in Washington, D.C., and she helped desegregate D.C. after Woodrow Wilson resegregated D.C., even though black votes put them in office. Like black leadership endorsed Woodrow Wilson. Like kind of how Black Lives monetize, endorse Biden. And Biden, like the neo-Dixiecrat they is, said, "We don't give no fucks." Yeah. Get no fucks. We don't give no fucks. like the Migos. We don't give no fucks. Woodrow Wilson told on black folks, "We don't give no fucks." Yeah. We ain't honoring nothing. Guerrilla pimping in session, my niggas. But I think that's enough. And I like how they show how Chicago was so racially polarized. Like, they were doing the recording in a studio on the north side of Chicago. Chicago is notoriously racially polarized. It's a very segregated city, We talk about the sundown town. Cicero is a suburb of Chicago. So the land of Lincoln is very segregated and racially polarized. So I like how they showed that scene where her nephew got into a car accident, and it like there might be a lynching. Like I said, she stood her ground, but yet, how can you protect black women if I can't protect my own black ass? You understand? Black folks have always been under attack in this system. We are always in a heightened flight or fight mode in this system. That's why we got the high blood pressure and diabetes. Your body is not allowed to rest if you're a black person. Your mind is not allowed to rest. Your imagination is not allowed to rest. You're not allowed to rest. You're always running from something. Why do you think black folks are always moving around, trying to escape Jim Crow, lynching, trying to escape discrimination, trying to escape this and that? We always moving around. We always a movement people. We've been a movement people. You understand? We always moving. We never can sit still. We know I look and change like the seasons around here. Nobody protects black people. Nobody. Who gonna protect me? Nobody. So nobody. Nobody needs nobody. I love that song by Player Fly. You Memphis rap fans know what I'm talking about. Nobody needs nobody. All I got is me and my dog. So all of y'all, nobody needs nobody. Memphis, powerful. Then Sun Rackets, right? I talked about Stack, but Sun Rackets, Elvis Presley career jump started there. Ike Turner and his Delta Cats did Rocket 88, the song about the Oldsmobile. Rocket 88, Jackie Brenston. Dun, 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 dun. Allegedly the first rock and roll song. So you got all this stuff that came through Memphis, given to the world. And then I ain't even get started. Al Green, who was born right across the river in Forest City, Arkansas, which was founded by the first Grand Wizard of the KKK, OKKK, General Nathan Bedford Forrest, who used to be the city alderman in Memphis. First Grand Wizard buried in Memphis. They took down his statue, but his city that he founded, majority black, still exists across the bridge in Arkansas. That's where they put T.I., the rapper, at in federal prison in Forest City, Arkansas. Then T.I., on his first album, he shouted out what? He shouted out Memphis, like Orange Mound. All the rappers know where Crunk came from. It came from Memphis. No. 3-6 Mafia did that album, The Most Known Unknown. They won the Oscar. It's hard out here for a pimp. I actually was riding a mega bus with Fraser Boy from Atlanta to Memphis, man. I took a picture with Fraser Boy and some other rappers, man. It was amazing. Lord Infamous. I think that was Lord Infamous. He ended up dying that year. He was sick on the bus, man. He had, I don't know, man. It was sad. He died young. And I think I did enough rambling. Y'all got the idea, right? Go see Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Black Bottom. Go see it. It's worth the price of admission. But man, it was a good movie. Pleasantly surprised. Thank y'all for enjoying the information. Yeah, the movie was great, Sister Duckworth. I think I fulfilled my promise of keeping it going. So thank you all for listening. Thank you. Ariel's 402. Omaha, Nebraska, another phenomenal black place. Malcolm X was born in Omaha, Nebraska. So many great black folks. Bob Gibson, we lost this year. One of the greatest baseball pitchers of all time, if not the greatest baseball pitcher. He was so dominant in his time when he was playing for the Cardinals back in the 60s. I think they had to adjust the mound. He was so dominant in pitching. From Omaha, Nebraska. Or he's from Nebraska. It could be Lincoln, Nebraska, but he's from Nebraska. How do you keep these names and dates in your head? I don't know. Something's wrong with me. I'm weird. How about that? Maybe I'm Rain Man. Yes, I always think it. Yeah. I appreciate y'all receiving it. We love you too, Butterfly 70. Love you madly. So I guess that does it for tonight, family. I just want to make sure I did something to say, hey, I did it, y'all. We made it, Brooklyn. Thank y'all for tuning in. I have some more content coming through. Thank y'all for being great supporters. I'm talking about you in the chat rooms and the people that give donations. A lot of y'all really hit me up, blessed me today or tonight or yesterday, and it's much appreciated. And even the trolls, I'm gonna be honest with you, dealing with Dick Gregory helped me develop a thick skin. I don't believe in censorship. There's too much censorship going on. If you really care about what we're doing, if you're a so-called troll, Debbie Downer, I don't care. You play your role, play your position. But I am trying to reach as many people as I can while I can. You know what I'm saying? Through these means. And I think 2021 gonna be an interesting year for We All Be as we evolve into something else. Because I want us to win. I just don't want to survive anymore. I want us to win. I want to win. I want y'all to win. So I'll keep y'all posted. Know that the best is yet to come. If you like the words from Brother Herb, please subscribe to We All Be TV. Support the movement. Cash App your support, $ R2C2H2. You can Google Pay. It's Google Pay and what's the other thing? And PayPal, R2C2H2 at gmail.com. You can Vimo your love at R2C2H2. You also use Zelle now. You use our email, R2C2H2 at gmail.com, or the phone number 901-299-4355. You can buy Art of His Art, R2C2H2.com. You can wear Art of His gear with Art of His art on it. Go to that shelf below the description box if you're on YouTube. So thank y'all, and thank y'all for receiving this. And yes, Charlie Christian was from Oklahoma City. You know, he was good friends with Ralph Ellison, the guy who wrote the Invisible Man. That's a great book to read. But you know, Charlie Christian was friends with Ralph Ellison because they're both from Oklahoma. So I am signing off, people. It's been a long, long Sunday. It's Monday now, but it's still Sunday on the left coast, on the west side, because you and I know it's the best side. California knows how the COVID. California knows how the COVID. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm goofy. Yeah. Anyway, y'all have a great night. Thank you all. And know that the best is yet to come. In the words of Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.